So this will be the first video in a four-part series looking at the levels of court. And as you can see, we're looking at a graphic, a chart for the court structure of Texas. And this is current as of October 2023. So you can kind of look around and you can see the labels on the side and these little home plate looking shapes. But in a previous video I mentioned there are four levels of a typical court structure. Not every court structure follows the same pathway. There are court structures that only have three levels, and not all court structures look as complicated as Texas. But we're going to start with this first part of the video looking at what are called courts of limited jurisdiction. In a lot of court structures you will just find one level in the court structure that is defined as courts of limited jurisdiction. But we've got two in Texas, so we're going to look at this. So speaking just generally, not specific to Texas, but just generally, courts of limited jurisdiction, which are found in most states, handle minor offenses like traffic violations or fine-only criminal offenses. In Texas, that'd be a Class C misdemeanor that comes with no jail time as a part of the punishment, only a fine. So these courts of limited jurisdiction would have jurisdiction over those types of cases. They would also have jurisdiction over minor civil cases, and all of this minor stuff accounts for almost 80% of what goes on in a state court. It's a lot of stuff happening at the minor level, which are handled by these courts, and you can see the sheer numbers of them listed on our graphic. If we go up into the courts of general jurisdiction, which we'll cover in the next video, in Texas we call those district courts. There are 499 of them. There are more county courts, which are a type of court of limited jurisdiction. Even more justice courts. You've heard of the justice of the peace. And even more municipal courts or city courts. So this is what's going on at the vast majority of litigation is happening in these types of situations. These courts handle the majority of cases. They deal with administrative duties as well. In 2009, of about 106 million cases processed in state courts, 66% of them were resolved in the courts of limited jurisdiction, while they handle over half of all state court cases on average. Some states like Iowa, South Dakota, Idaho, and Illinois, and the District of Columbia don't even have this court level. They don't have a court of limited jurisdiction level in their court structure. These courts go by various names. You can see we have three different names, and technically four. At the county court level, we have constitutional county courts, and you'll notice that there is one for each county. There's 254 counties in Texas. There are 254 constitutional county courts. These are created by the Texas Constitution. And then sometimes those constitutional county courts exist in counties that are too big, like Dallas County or Harris County, too big for the county judge to be a magistrate in the county court and the executive of the county government. So there are created in here what are called that's what's called a statutory county court. You'll hear them referred to as county courts at law. Those are created by the legislature to kind of handle that processing that in a county like Johnson County or Somerville County, probably Hill County, are just covered by a singular county court. So they go by various names. We have county courts, municipal courts, and justice of the peace courts in Texas. There are also versions of these limited jurisdiction courts that can be specialized, like for juvenile functions or family matters. Traffic courts, a lot of times that happens in the JP, in the municipal courts. Those are low-level things that takes up a great portion of the caseload. So I want to just mention one thing specific about Texas before we end the video. You notice in the arrows in the diagram show you the pathway of these cases. Even though the county court is a a court of limited jurisdiction, it does have an appellate function. You'll notice these arrows coming from the municipal court straight up to the county court. That means that cases that originate in these two courts, the JP court and the municipal court, can be appealed to the county court level. Now, typically appeals that are heard at the county court level are heard in a form of a trial called trial de novo, which just means that the lower court sends the case up to the municipal, or sends the case up to the county court, and the trial is just heard again. It's just like we'll do the trial over at a higher level. And that's not the way it works when you appeal up in these levels. But we'll talk more about that later. So for right now, we're just talking about the courts of limited jurisdiction. Read over this information if you have more interest. And just remember that courts of limited jurisdiction are literally limited in the types of criminal or civil cases that they can hear.